The Big Ten's going to be a lot of fun, dude. Like every conference in college football is a blast, but I just get excited looking down this list of teams because, first of all, two of the three top odds to win the conference are breaking a new quarterback with 5 stars next to his name. Ohio State and Julian Sayin, I'm assuming is going to win that job. Dangerous to assume right now, but I'm going to go ahead and make that call right now. Oregon and Dante Moore, and then for Penn State, they got Drew Aller, who's back for another year in Happy Valley. But it's curious to break all three down because I think they all have just different challenges about themselves. Like for Ohio State, everyone's talking about complacency this, complacency that, new coordinators, and I get that, but I think the newness for Ohio State in a roundabout way is the advantage to the potential obstacles people keep speaking to with them. Because you got a lot of dudes now in Brian Hartline, and if it's Sayin, great. If it's Keenholz, great. There are a lot of guys now with something to prove. You have a nice combo there of finishing the trip last year, but not checking all your boxes last year at the same time. Like, hear me clearly. That Michigan loss for that locker room still stings, and it should sting. It's unacceptable for them to lose to that football team that many times in a row. They get that. They understand that. And I wonder now if last year's shortcomings in that game and how they propelled through the playoff doesn't maybe carry over to this squad and the feeling internally in Columbus. But bottom line, if they can fight complacency, and I think they will, Ohio State is going to be a wagon. For Oregon, we talk about the newness for them. It's still a top-tier roster in the Big Ten. Like, make no mistake about it. This is the year where you see the dividends of how Dan Lanning has recruited out there in Eugene. Since he joined the conference, or I guess since he got to Oregon, and since Oregon's been in the conference, they have been a team that's recruited in the top 2 of the Big Ten. Even if you go back to the years where Oregon was in the Pac-12, when Dan Lanning got there, if you want to compare the recruiting rankings, they've recruited in the top 2 in the Big Ten. So just because you don't know all the names, just because we haven't seen some of the guys that have been living on that 2 deep step into the light here, that's going to be a massive advantage for them. And to put it in another way, like they have a very, very workable schedule, which we'll talk about here a little bit later. Now for Penn State, I want to talk about the top 3 odds here. So that's why we're talking about Penn State, and I want to talk about some other teams, obviously. Everyone's saying this is the year. Thing is, this is like the 3rd year in a row we've said this is the year. And it's not wrong to say that because on paper, I see where everyone's coming from. Drew Aller's back. James Franklin, say what you want about him in big games, still one of the best coaches in college football. I mean, very quietly won 2 college football playoff games a year ago, and no one wants to give him credit. Is this the year for Penn State? It could be. And if it is, it's because Drew Aller elevates and does something that we haven't seen from him just yet, which is get on my back. Doesn't matter what they have on their roster. You have me. Let's go win the football game. If you see that from Penn State this year, that's why Penn State ends up being a team that's playing the national championship and why they would win the Big Ten in that scenario. But so that's the top tier, but the scrappy tier is where it gets fun, man. Like, how scrappy is the scrappy tier? Is, I guess, my question here. Because Michigan and, like, the roster math is just a thing of beauty. We say it a lot, but you beat Ohio State and Alabama throwing for double-digit yards. We've talked about that stat ad nauseum. That should never happen again for Michigan. As long as Bryce Underwood's there, that should never happen again. And plus that defense, with how good they were, like the schedule's workable for Michigan as well. There really, I think, on paper, is a lot of reason to project Michigan to play in the conference championship and then go have a chance to play in the college football playoff. Nebraska, people roll their eyes. Year 3, Matt Rule, death taxes and him taking a massive jump in year 3 at both Temple and at Baylor. Took over operations that won like 1 or 2 games their first year. Played for the conference their 3rd year. Raiola's back. Got to know seeing Dana Holgerson, who speaks QB fluently. I'm just saying. Washington. I love Washington. A lot of their big games at home. Damon Williams is a psychopath at quarterback. I mean, just first team all fun to watch at quarterback. Iowa, Penn State, and Oregon both at home. USC, they're running hot. So there's a lot there. Here's what I want to make sure we get out of the way, though. As much as I love the scrappy tier, there's going to be a couple of teams that get lumped into the scrappy tier that I just want to just cut off access to right now. That's Illinois, it's Indiana. Not saying they can't both go win 8 games, 9 games, and ruin somebody's November, but we keep getting this, discussion of, well, Illinois is last year's Indiana. No, they're not, dude. They're not. They're not. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But how we feel right now in July, I'm not. They were 5-1 in one-score games last year. 5-1. That's not going to carry over to the next year. Indiana made the playoff last year. I have a SIG hoodie, and not a hoodie that I smoke cigarettes in. I have a hoodie that is the CIG in the Big Ten Conference font, and it's sick, and I love it, and we got it from some of our friends out there, but I don't think they're going to have the same magic from last year to this year. Reason being, you play a bunch of teams that weren't on your schedule last year that are on your schedule this year. Iowa, Oregon, I don't think that's going to carry over. So I like those teams, but when you tell me they're going to be teams that are in Indy for the conference title game, I'm going to say, no, not so fast, my friend. Shout out Lee Corso. So here's the thing. When it comes to who's going to play in the conference title game and the dust settles, I think Ohio State gets to the conference championship game. I think Oregon and Penn State will have a very, very impactful meetup here early on in the season when Oregon goes to Penn State. I think that game, in and of itself, will be a tiebreaker between those two. So both Oregon and Penn State, I think, will make the college football playoff. But as it stands right now, I think Oregon wins that game on the road and finds themselves in the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State. Now, a little rematch from the Rose Bowl, day versus Lanning round 3 should be a good time. I think Ohio State wins this game for the same reason they won the Rose Bowl. Not to make it overly simplistic, but Jeremiah Smith is the best player in college football. He is a creative player. He's a freak show. He is going to be better than he was last year based on his overall acclimation to college football, learning the nuances of the game, how they utilize him. So I think that when you look at some of the new pieces Oregon's breaking in as well, I could see that playing a factor. But at this point, I think Ohio State is going to be a little bit hungry. Being in the Big Ten title game, something that Ryan Day hasn't been to in a minute. And I think that they ultimately check that box, get the Big Ten title monkey of sorts off their back, and Ohio State is your Big Ten champion in the year of 2025.